Hi, today we are going to talk about the most important milestones in the history of organizational psychology. My group is composed of Angie Arias, Nasli Quiroz, and Dana Oyola. 1. These are had its origin in experimental psychology with the psychologists Hugo Munsterberg and Walter Dill Scott being considered as its founders. Two further developments in the area are due to the work of Frederick Taylor and Frank and Lillian Gilbert. 3. The two world wars had a desired influence of the shaping of organizational psychology. 4. The first task that psychologists had was to select the most suitable soldier for the war. Also, to use methods to increase work efficiency and training in marketing and advertising techniques. 5. 1917. During the First Wars, the usefulness of this area begins to be seen through mental capacity tests such as Army Alpha and Army Beta. 6. Later consulting firms emerged, the first of them being that of James Cattell Psychological Corporation, founded in 1921. 7. After the Second World War, psychologists who participate in military tasks found improved organization a place where they could apply their knowledge and have a well-paid work activity.
In the United States, there are many associations or divisions thereof and groups that bring together organizational psychologists. American Psychological Association, Society of Industrial Organizational Psychology, American Psychology Society, International Association for Cross-Cultural Psychology, Association for Behavior Analysis. In the world, private enterprise in the United States has been the main promoter of studies in organizational psychology, frequently linked to the evolution of administrative systems. The organizational area as a context for psychology operation areas from management and specifically from social changes related to production system. Initially, the place of operation, the structure, material, and technical resource, and the group of individuals in charge of the elaboration of some products, automobile industry, footwear, electronic, etc., were identified as industry, a title that will change to that of organization to include other material structures and group. The transition from the title of industrial to organizational psychology is not due to a psychological reconsideration, but rather to the change in administrative theories and work system that indicate an adjustment for its nomination.
Organizational Psychology in Colombia. In 1947, the Institute of Applied Psychology of the National University was created under the direction of Mercedes Rodrigo. His work focused on the area of research and application of psychotechnical tests, as well as on a variety of organizational and administrative actions. In 1950, Ernesto Amador Barriga founded the Psychometric Laboratory, which marks the beginning of organizational psychology in Colombia. Since this laboratory was requested services of selection, classification, and evaluation of personnel by different companies. In the 1970s, the International Labour Organization provided advice to the National Apprenticeship Service regarding occupational analysis. This turns out to be an important fact for organizational psychology, because from this point, selection, training, and development departments began to be organized. Manuel Morales is considered one of the forerunners of industrial psychology in Colombia. in addition to having been the first psychologist to work within this project developed by SENA. At the same time, a very limited number of companies had the presence of a psychologist. Since then, the fields of action or what to do of the organizational psychologists have been considerably. Then they work on processes of job analysis, selection, training, evaluation, working conditions, induction, communication, occupational health, and motivation. Currently, the organizational psychologist is incorporated into the field of human rights management. Thus, understanding that it has a multidisciplinary approach and its role is that of a manager of knowledge and skills. The factors associated with the role of the organizational psychologist would then be the traditional criteria of formal work organization, based on the mercantilist model, the hierarchical division of labor, emphasis on the work of the requirement psychologist, and the particularities of the population to which the psychologist works, people with the capacities to assume the required work rates. And compared to the domain of psychological processes, the following stand out: motivation, personality, attitudes, perception, learning, leadership, decision-making, and participation.
At present, it is found that the use of personnel selection in Colombia psychologists is still important. In 1999, ACOSTA mentioned that strategists and tactics had been designated by organizational psychologists to select and evaluate employees, to build functions manual, to organize induction program, training program, welfare program, organizational climate analysis, as well as projects that seek to identify and change the organizational culture. In Colombia, organizational psychology not only demonstrated its social usefulness, but mainly its economic usefulness. Similarly, the tasks of Colombian psychologists in this area are focused on personnel selection, training, staff work, task specialization, productive improvement of the organizational climate, and occupational health. On the other hand, Martinez in 2000 proposed that initially industrial organizational psychology contributed to providing answers to two questions: who is the best person for a position, and what should this worker be trained in to perform at equality? The first psychologists who analyzed work and organization were directed towards these objectives. Enciso and Perilla in 2004 referred to the fact that psychologists must have prospective studies in order to determine their own legend, skills and attitudes that should make up the profile of the organizational psychologist, so that he or she can be competitive in the 21st century. In the 2004-2006 period, it is proposed that the psychologist should have clarity about what his/her role is and who he/she serves when intervening in the individual work relationships.
Finally, we can conclude that Colombia, being a developing country, is still limited in the face of socio-business modernization. Therefore, although there are companies with an adequate economic and social organization, maximum production at minimum cost prevails, which also includes the human factor.
Some professions will be able to replace hegemonic psychology. Therefore, psychologists will have to learn to relate their work to psychology in order to open new horizons and thus be able to guide people along the path of psychology.